Good morning. This is Teresa Nikas, and this is today's Quiet Echo. At the bottom of page 2 this week, in the very smallest type we set, there is a correction. Last Thursday, we ran a photograph from the county fair, and we printed the wrong name underneath it. And a reader telephoned me to say so. She was gentle about it, but she was firm. "You have the wrong woman," she told me. "Her name is Mardine. She is my sister." So this week, we say so. In print, in the little space we keep in this paper for saying, plainly, we were wrong. Now, almost nobody reads the corrections. They are the dullest 6 lines in the whole paper, tucked away down there under the weather. But I have come, over the years, to believe they are just about the most important thing we print. And I have been thinking hard about why, on account of a man named Samuel Hopkins, whose name this whole country managed to get wrong for 200 years. In the summer of 1790, the United States issued its very first patent, the first one, number 1. And it went to Samuel Hopkins, a Quaker down in Philadelphia, for a better way of making potash, the plain gray stuff going into the soap and the glass and the bread of everyday life. And the paper was signed by George Washington himself, the very first patent in the whole history of the nation. You would surely think we would remember exactly who held it. Well, we did not, because in 1836 a fire tore through the patent office, and it burned those earliest records right down to ash. And when the office set about piecing its files back together from whatever scraps it could find, it made one small mistake. It wrote him down as a man from Vermont. He had not. There was, as it happened, a Samuel Hopkins up in Vermont, a different fellow altogether, and the broken record simply reached out and grabbed the nearest name it could find, and it got the whole thing wrong. And here, now, is the quiet and terrible thing about a wrong record. It never does stay just one mistake. One history book copied the patent office, and the next book copied the first. And a town up in Vermont, glad and pleased with its famous native son, went and raised a stone marker to a man who had never in his life invented a single thing. For 100 years, the scholars and the schoolchildren and one carved rock all agreed on something flatly false, each one of them leaning on the one who came before, and not a single one of them going back to look. It took a lawyer, a man named David Maxey, patient far beyond what was reasonable, digging his way through old census pages and dusty city directories back in the 1990s, to finally set it right. And he found the real Samuel Hopkins right where he had been the entire time, in Philadelphia, written down, plain as day, in the census of 1790, as a potash maker. Maxey published his correction 208 years after the fact, and he was careful, so careful, to say nobody had ever lied. It was, in his own fine words, the compounding effect of uncontested error. The compounding effect of uncontested error. I will tell you, I wrote those words down on a card, and I taped it up on the wall above my desk, because it is the truest description of my own work I believe I have ever read. An error nobody stands up to contest does not just sit there politely, waiting to be noticed. It breeds. It works its way into the next telling, and the next, and the next, and it hardens as it goes, until one bright morning it is simply a fact everybody knows, carved into stone, and wrong. And I want you to hear me on this. The only thing in this world standing against it is the correction, those unglamorous 6 little lines down under the weather. The reader who bothers to call and say, "You have the wrong woman, her name is Mardine," the lawyer who spends years of his one life just to hand a dead stranger his own good name back. Now, I have set the type in this paper a long time, and the correction is the hardest column inch I run. Every week, a small part of me would rather it were not there. A correction is the paper looking a whole town in the eye and admitting it failed you, in the very medium it exists to be trusted in. It would be so easy to let the small ones slide. Who will remember one name under one fair photograph? But I have learned the hard way. The small ones are the seed of the big ones. The stone marker in Vermont did not start as a lie. It started as one clerk, tired at the end of one long day, writing down the nearest plausible thing and moving on. So we run the correction, however small. So I will ask 2 things of you. First, read the corrections, and second, and far more important, make them. When we get a name wrong in this paper, you call me the very way she did, and we will fix it. Because the alternative is the wrong name setting up hard and quiet, like poured concrete. And if you ever find an error out there anywhere, in a book, on a marker, in the very story your own family tells about itself, please, do not simply assume somebody else has already gone and checked, because I promise you, somebody almost never has. Samuel Hopkins failed at very nearly everything he ever set his hand to in this life. He died with next to nothing to his name, and then his own country could not even keep his name straight. But one careful man refused to let the error stand. And now, at long last, the first patent belongs to the man who actually earned it. There. Such is what a correction truly is. It is how we tell one another the truth is still worth the trouble. Even 200 years late, even 6 little lines long. Even for one woman named Mardine, out at the county fair. The front porch is open. What is an error you helped set right in a record, a book, or your own family's story? Come and tell us. And if we get something wrong, tell us, and we will run the correction. The readers of the Cedar Valley News are gathering to share their stories and keep company with respect and no party lines. Come sit with us. I will put the link in the show notes. This is Teresa Nikas, your host for today's Quiet Echo. Thanks for listening. Quiet Echo is part of the fictional Cedar Valley News series, written by Evan Swenson, publisher, and Claude Marshall, AI developmental editor. While the town of Cedar Valley and its reader are fictional, the history is real. On July 31, 1790, the United States issued its first patent, signed by President George Washington, to Samuel Hopkins, a Philadelphia Quaker, for an improved process of making potash and pearlash. A fire destroyed the early patent office records in 1836, and the reconstructed files mistakenly recorded Hopkins as a resident of Vermont. For generations, the credit, and a historical marker, went to a different man of the same name. The Philadelphia historian and lawyer David W. Maxey established the true Hopkins through archival research published in 1998. His phrase describing the mix-up, the compounding effect of uncontested error, is quoted here. Sources include Maxey's work in the Pennsylvania Magazine of History and Biography and the Smithsonian's Lemelson Center.
You've been listening to the Cedar Valley News Podcast, where small-town voices meet the headlines shaping our world. From faith and family to front porches and fields. We'll be back with more stories connecting real lives to real events. Until next time, keep your porch light on, your faith strong, and your heart open. This is Cedar Valley News.